Welcome to Prime Testimony channel. Today we are going to look at an aspect of our African culture, which is the use of proverbs. I'm not going to give any dictionary definition of proverbs, but in simple terms, I will explain proverbs as a wisdom language which we use in communication. It is used among elders. It is used among even the younger people, usually when chiefs and elders are communicating or when individuals are talking. People use proverbs. Even in the Bible, there are proverbs. And the use of proverbs make the recipient of the information think deeply and also shows one degrees of wisdom in unpacking, coded language. There are backgrounds to proverbs. And if you understand the background, you are able to, give precise interpretation to that particular proverb. What we must appreciate is that as time goes on, other people also bring their perspective on board in interpreting a particular proverbs, and some even argue their points or their reasons out such that it may fit perfectly to the new situation being addressed. However, the original intentions and the meaning of that particular proverb should be preserved, else latter generations bring in other meanings, and the purpose for which that proverb was created loses its efficacy or its usefulness. In fact, some proverbs are easy to understand, others are also a bit difficult or they look quite controversial. And today I'm going to pick just one and try to look at its origins, why it came. Very, very controversial one. In Akan, we say, Abane Juma, Uchu Nase, na Womfensuya. In Chi, they say, Aban Juma, Yuchinase, na Yemfensua. Literally in English, it means that for government work, it is dragged. It is not, carried on our shoulders. Federal expansion means that the kind of commitment that one is expected to commit to private enterprise should not be the same as working for the government. Or it means that when you are working for a private enterprise, you must be more committed than doing for the government. And why is this so? That is where the controversy is. And I think let us listen to the background why such controversial proverb is usually made, especially among Ghanaians. In fact, I personally have never liked this kind of proverb until maybe I got it mean. Then I started looking at it in a different way, although still it has that negative connotation. And how did this come? Most African countries were ruled by European powers. There was little or no education, formal education at that time. But as time went on, when formal education was brought, people started understanding so many things. And later on, they realized that the resources of the African continent was being, taken away, especially our gold, our diamonds, and a lot of them were being taken away. So, and because of that, in the 1940s and the 1950s, there was so much awareness in Gold Coast, such that people started a lot of agitation, all in an effort to gain our independence. We should remember that earlier on, a group of soldiers had gone out on rampage demanding their due salaries and allowances after serving in the World War. After serving in the World War, and I think in the Second World War. And this led to the shooting of the three army juniors at the Usu Christiabon Road, where they usually call the Crossroads Road shooting. So there was a lot of agitation. There were boycotts here and there. Students were boycotting, workers were. So you could see that there was conflict between the Gold Coast indigenes and then the European administrators. And the European administrators also saw those strikes and agitations as an affront to their authority over the land which they did not own. Very, very interesting. So from this discussion, you can obviously see that that proverb was developed around that time, at a time that people were not happy about the then government in power, for which reason people started exhibiting lackadaisical attitude to work. Some will not work wholeheartedly. People were not remaining committed to supervision of government's work and so on, all in an effort to gain independence, for which reason they started saying government work will not carry it. After all, they did not like the government in power. The mistake that was made was that after we gained independence in 1957, effort was not made to explain the origins of this particular proverb to the generation at that time and even the latter generation. And for that reason, some people have taken it the way it is in its literal meaning, thinking that everything belonging to the government, you don't need to be committed to it, for which reason we've actually lost a great deal. We can even look at some of the state-owned organizations that were vibrant during those times. The municipal buses, which later became the State Transport Corporation, STC, and then we had the State Housing Corporation. We had the Ghana National Trading Corporation, which is GNTC. We have the Ghana Industrial Holding Corporation, which had different branches. We have the Ghana Railway Corporation, the Blaster Line, the Ghana Airways. Although few of these are still in existence, but the kind of vibrance that they had, I mean, it's not happening like the way it used to be. Even a number of them have been turned into, private companies. So we must understand that proverbs, quotations, and popular slogans are powerful. In fact, it influences our beliefs and to a greater extent our culture. It affects our behavior, and therefore we must do all we can to, explain or teach our children the origins of these proverbs and those popular jargon, so that they can learn and imbibe what is right, what is pure, and what is developmental. We can be educated in many disciplines, but in addition to that, we have to be educated in what we call in Africa home wisdom, fi nyansa. We must learn to read and write our own mother tongue if we have the opportunity. And I believe that is why the Ghana Education Service has made it compulsory that at the basic school, everybody learns the basic language. And I think the teachers should go further to teach. I remember in times past, there were other ways that we're learning. They would take us to the Ahimfie or the Chief's Palace, and they would teach us some of those things. Those cultural stuff that we were being taught, I think it is very, very important. So the Ghana Education Service will do their part, but the community leaders must also see these things as very important so that we will not lose our culture. In case you could not get opportunity to learn about where you come from, learn from books and other sources written or documented from African perspectives. I'm saying from African perspective because some of the textbooks that were initially written, unfortunately, were written from other perspectives. You can sometimes hear, and Christopher Columbus, founded this, and then this person was the first person to discover Africa. The interesting thing is that if somebody discovered Africa, how can we call that discovery? it may be a discovery for that person and his people or her people. Because a land that had people, that had culture, that had human beings living, how can somebody say that you have discovered that land as if the land was barren? Yes, you can discover for seeing the people for the first time, but you cannot say that you discovered and as if you were the person who created the human beings over there. It is important for us to learn our culture. It is important for us to explain proverbs that people usually misconstrue, so that people would understand, our children and our youth would understand the background and then use them appropriately. There's another proverb that I think later there will be a sequel to this that we'll be discussing. A proverb like "Sa oba kwawara ne se onyaza odze ba ne na fie na so obo kawze a ono no kuneza," and some others. We will have opportunity to discuss this. It will be important for us maybe to look at some of these things through panel discussion so that we can see various perspectives. But today I'm going to dwell on this a lot. I want to thank the consultants for this particular information. Dr. Dominic Arthur Morrison from Ejumako Besianse, and I also want to thank Mr. Kingsford Insifo, who lives in Takrady but hails from Abiase Dominase in the central region. And I also want to thank Mr. and Mrs. Isel from Green Hill, Cape Coast, for the insights into the origins of this proverb. Thank you very much. Keep watching Prime Testimony channel. Remember to like the videos. Remember to recommend to other people to watch, and remember to subscribe. God bless you.